All right, so if you've listened to this podcast for a while, you know how much I like my joints. Follow this for a long time, about 7 years, following this whole thing from hand rolling to the knockbox to full automation. So we take a look at a report about pre-rolls and how exactly people are buying them. So a little bit more in depth than normal. Y'all know that they're popular, all of that. We're going to examine exactly how they're sold, singles and multi-packs, the overall market share, the price between US and Canada. We'll also take a look exactly who's buying them and which package sizes of pre-rolls are the most popular in the US and Canada. So all of that coming up.
It's only entertainment.
Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. All right, looking at market share of cannabis pre-rolls in the US and Canada. Doing a deep dive here. Looking at this graph, we can see that market share in the US for 2021 across both countries, looking at the units sold, multi-packs accounted for 79% purchased just last year and only 25% in the US. So Canadians definitely know what they want. They're going to buy it in bulk and take off. Whereas in the US, I've seen a lot of people just buy one at a time. So it is gaining a lot more popularity. Washington is definitely adding more. So you can buy one or two. I've seen even smaller joints become more and more popular. So instead of 1 gram, you'll see the packs of two that are half a gram. So I'm sure we'll dive into that here in a minute. So up in Canada, every single market had sold more multi-packs than in the US. So Ontario, the lowest share, 87%. That exceeds the top US market in California by more than 20%. Down in the US, the shares of multi-pack pre-rolls, they range around 40% last year. Colorado, Michigan, Nevada had the lowest share in the US, around 20%. Maybe that's tourism. People kind of just say they're good with one and done. Some of the more mature markets being California, Oregon, Washington had 56% in Cali, 48 in Oregon, 45 in Washington. So definitely more mature markets and, grabbing those. Still surprised more people don't roll their own. I don't. I use a bubbler. That's kind of my go-to, but I definitely like my cylindrical straight joints for my go-to. I don't even roll joints. Let's be honest. I roll hemp blunts. Those are my favorite. Jumping in a time machine, looking back as pre-rolls have kind of gained in popularity as more markets have opened, more opportunities. Multi-packs in the Canadian markets in 2021 has obviously evolved. One of the first products in the 1.0 rollout. Now we've got 2.0 where concentrates and other products can be sold. And so we're taking a look at multi-packs that did well in Canada from the start. Like I mentioned, is one of the first products that they had, selling at a consistent 90%. Canada was on lockdown, so maybe they didn't have the tourism to kind of bring that number back down for the tourists that grab, one and then skew those numbers. So obviously locals are buying, nine out of 10 times they're buying multi-packs, and then some folks, maybe the weekend warriors or whatever are grabbing one. And with the lack of tourism, that's caused that multi-pack statistic to rise higher than it would have been if tourism wasn't completely locked down. Multi-packs in the US increased during COVID. A lot of people were hoarding those. Some people weren't combusting because they were afraid that was going to add to the COVID dilemma. But nonetheless, pre-rolls are pretty popular in established markets. More conservative ones like Arizona kind of hold back. We're going to do an Arizona report. I'm anticipating that vape is still the dominant form, on the go, convenient, whatever. Whereas pre-rolls, nobody cares. Up here on the West Coast, Pacific Northwest in Washington, where I'm at, what you smell like, it doesn't even matter. But conservative markets, maybe they care. Looking at the average price per gram between multi-pack and single pack and the difference between those in the US and Canada. Canada single pre-rolls, average price $10.67. Multi-pack brings that down to $8.82. Still pretty expensive for something that's just ground up and rolled into, a joint. So in the US, the difference between single multi-packs were $1.51 in 2021. So The difference between singles and multi-packs in Canada is $1.85, and the difference down here is $1.51. So pretty similar. There is not a bulk discount, is what they're saying. So it's still pretty expensive per pre-roll and not much of a discount if you buy in bulk. Segment share between multi-packs and single pre-rolls in 2021. So indica single strain, sativa single strain segments had the larger market share within multi-packs, whereas the single pre-rolls had a larger market share of the connoisseur or infused segment. Demographics, like who's buying these up in Canada, it's kind of hard to differentiate. They're pretty popular amongst everybody. Even the lowest market share demographic of Gen Z males was over 80%. So share of multi-pack pre-rolls are increasing as age groups get older. And there's maybe two reasons for that. Older generations might know what they want. And single pre-rolls might be more experimentation, and you find out what you want and you just go after that. The other reason could be that Gen Z consumers might not have the amount of income. We've talked about that before. The older you get, the more money you have. So older groups have more money. So single pre-rolls are going to be more likely to be bought by younger consumers who don't have the disposable income. Female consumers had a larger market share in multi-pre-racks compared to males for the multi-pack pre-rolls. What about serving size? In Canada, the consumers prefer 3-packs and 10-packs. It wasn't the case in the US, so the consumers went for 5-packs at 37%, 2-packs at 14%, and then 10-pack of pre-rolls making up 13% of the market. I think tobacco is a 20-pack, and so we don't even really have that yet. People aren't going to be smoking like the same, I don't think. But eventually, with the price coming down, there's going to be more packs, probably 100-pack. Have you seen the big tins? The federal. I think there's still at least one person who gets that federal 10, and there's like 100 pre-rolls in there. So I'd buy one of those. So we talked about economies of scale and discounting when you buy a lot. So this graph is kind of showing that basically the more you buy the multi-packs, the more you're going to save. But it's not significant, like we mentioned. It's only matter of cents. Some of the higher end stuff is still trying to sell singles, try to differentiate themselves. And so the lower packaging is more for premium brands or specialty pre-rolls. And then the rest is sold in bulk. But regardless, if you prefer 1 or 10, doesn't matter. We're going to keep you up to date on everything that is cannabis, pre-rolls, cylindrical, or cone shape. Doesn't really matter. Blunts too. So we don't discriminate.
With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out.
Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.